Russ says, regarding coaches scripting the first 15 plays or so, suppose you get an explosive touchdown on the sixth play. On the next offensive possession, do you go back to that play since it worked, or do you just keep proceeding? All that different stuff. How do you plan all this stuff out? So I went through and found some sample scripts, some blank ones, because I went through some of my old sample scripts that I would go through, my play call sheets. They're confusing because of the different terminology and whatever else, and I didn't like it. So I tried finding some blank ones online. So let's talk through this because I think this is fun. This is an example, and again, I'm going to do my best to explain this for the non-video people watching this. But if you are on YouTube, you can kind of see what this looks like. Now, I tried to find the most simple, basic one just for description purposes. Kyle Shanahan doesn't use this exact same format, but whenever you script out plays, a lot of times you'll script out, okay, 1 through 20. Kyle Shanahan does first 20 plays, first half, first 20 plays, second half. You usually do that before you take the field, right? Definitely for the first half. Sometimes you'll adjust in the second half, but you have those plays scripted. Like Steve Sarkisian of the Longhorns, he scripts 40 plays. Like he's a madman. But what happens is you don't call 1 through 20. That's not the way it goes. Because where the ball is on the hash, the down and distance, all of that changes. So even though it's scripted, you kind of filter these out. So you have your 1 through 20 scripted plays, but you don't just call 1 through 20. So like this shows you have your scripted plays, that's the first box. Underneath that is, well, if it's on the left hash and it's second and short, okay, second and 4 yards or less, sometimes people have 3 yards or less, there's certain plays that you will call. And that will change based on a team you're playing. Do they blitz a lot on second and short? Do they play man a lot? Do they play zone a lot? So what you build in is how you're going to handle that. So even though it's second and short and you're on play 2, you might skip your play 2 or just not go to it, and you'll jump down to, okay, I got a second and short left hash play that I really like this week because I know whenever we do this, they slant their defensive linemen to the boundary side and they rotate their safety over the top to the side, to the short side of the field. So lots of different things you can do that. Then if that converts, then you go back to your second scripted play. And then other things too. Is it a second and long? Do you get a sack? Is there a false start? Because you don't want to run your second play if it's second and 13. That's a different play. So what you'll do is you'll flip over your page and you'll say, okay, where's my second and long play? Now, if we take this just a little bit further, and again, if you look at those scripted sheets, there's about 40 categories of plays, and it gets more advanced, and every coach likes different things to be highlighted. So, for example, like this is what I would always have an example on the back of mine was I would have players highlighted. This script here says playmaker play. So I would have 5 plays that I want to get to Ayuk throughout the game. I would have playmaker 2, that's Debo. Playmaker 3, that's Kittle or CMC or whomever. And it's like, look, I want to get these plays to them. A wide leak play to Kittle. At some point, I'm doing a play action rollout, wide leak to Kittle on the backside. But I've got to wait till I'm on the right hash so that I could give him all the space and all the field on the left side of the field and things like that. Also, you're going to have your cover beaters. Okay, if they're running too high, we know they run too high every single time it's third and long. We know they do that. These are our 3 plays against a cover 2. These are our man cover 1 beaters. These are our cover 3. These are our quarters beaters. And so you've got these all laid out. So those are examples, again, just examples of scripts that you'll use throughout the thing. Now, Russ's question was, why don't we go back 2 plays? Shanahan don't do that. It's just not what he does. Now, he'll use similar concepts, won't use similar plays. No. For example, okay, just finished the second half breakdown of the Commanders game. CMC goes out. You bring in Elijah Mitchell, and he just starts attacking A-gaps. I mean, I think we had 7 runs straight up the A-gap with Elijah Mitchell in the third quarter alone. 7 runs. And that's crazy. That's Shanahan crazy. He never does that. But it was working, and so he does the same type of read, the same type of block, but from different personnel, different motions, different sets, different situations. You see what I'm saying? So Shanahan's not a guy that's just going to rinse and repeat. That's just really not. I wish that he would. It's not what he does. He'll run the same route concepts, a dagger concept where the number 2 wide receiver just runs straight up the field in a clear out route. He has to occupy the nickel or linebacker in the safety. That's the whole goal there. And then you'll have, a deep in cut right off of that clear out route. So for example, you got 2 wide receivers to the right side. Okay. Debo's all the way outside. He's your 1. And then Ayuk is number 2, just inside. But they do it from a stack. They do it from a slot. They do it from a motion. They do it from everything. The number 2, the inside wide receiver, just runs straight up the field. Debo does it. Ayuk does it. A lot of times they'll do it with Jawan Jennings, who's not even a threat. They'll do it with everybody. Then the outside wide receiver will do a 12 and in. So he's going to press for 12 yards, which at the 14-yard line, that's usually the breaking point for corners in the cover 3, cover 2 quarters concept. That's where they will pass off certain routes or stay with. So a 12-yard, and he'll cut under the number 2, right? So he'll run that wide route concept 7 times, but it's all different plays. Sometimes it's the first read, sometimes it's the second read, sometimes it's not a read at all. So Russ, to your question, yeah, this is one of the things that I really wish Shanahan would do more of. It's just not who he is. Shanahan has so much that he wants to get to. And my favorite thing about Kyle Shanahan, this is my favorite thing about Shanahan, everything is built on top of each other. So if this play works, that's going to open up this other play later. It's the ultimate, everything's woven together. Shanahan does not have a play in his playbook that is just one solid play that stands alone. Nope. Everything is, well, they go with the flat defender here off this motion. Therefore, we're going to run a counter play, run play there. We're going to run an attack play there. We're going to run a screen play off that. And we're going to run a route concept off of the outside linebacker that is trailing or going too quick to their flat responsibility. Does that make sense? So that's the difference between Kellen Moore, who's a very good play caller, and Kyle Shanahan, who weaves everything together. All of it. Everything is connected. This play affects 10 other plays that will be called today. And that's why it's so hard to defend Kyle Shanahan wherever the hell he goes. And it's the same way with Papa Shanahan. It's not like it's a new thing. Now, right here, Johnny says, how do defenses script plays? Very good. You have a lot of it's based off of tendencies, right? So being a defensive coach is largely somewhat reactionary. And a lot of defensive coaches don't like to use that terminology because they want to go to the hardcores. Think about every defensive coordinator press conference or anytime a team hires a defensive coordinator, a new one or changes, they always do the same thing. It's Robert Saleh, it's D'Amico, it's, we're going to be an attacking defense. We're going to predicate what the offense does. All gas, no brakes. Attack, attack, attack. We're going to get pressure and force turnover, right? It's like a bingo word salad that defensive coaches have to use. However, at the base concept of defense is, how did the offense line up? How do we respond to that? All right. If they're doing a 3-by-1 set, okay, which means 3 wide receivers or 3 eligibles to the offensive right, defensive left side, 1 to the back end. How do you stop that number 1 guy? That's the NFL's number 1 thing right now is 3-by-1 sets. Has been for about 3 years. You put 3 eligibles on one side. Brandon Ayuk's by himself on the defensive right, offensive left side. Do you attribute 2 guys to that? Because if you do, your run game's going to be rough. Do you put your best corner over there? Do you rotate corners? It's reactionary, right? So for a defensive script, I would always start with, and I don't like Bill Belichick. I can't stand him. But he is very, very good at the way that he looks at games. And I love this. What's the offense's number 1 goal? Who's their playmaker? What is the one thing that makes it go, right? If I'm playing the Eagles, it's A.J. Brown. You know what I'm saying? If I play it, fill in the blank. It doesn't matter. Whatever their number 1 thing is, DK Metcalf, or if it's a tight end, Travis Kelce, or it's a running back, Christian McCaffrey, whatever. I am going to stop the number 1 thing they do. Steve Wilks does not do this. That's not what Steve Wilks does. So for Steve Wilks, his play script will look like this. What are our base packages? If our base packages aren't working, how do we take advantage of certain things? All right. If we're going to blitz, when can we blitz and not lose? That's what Steve Wilks, his number one thing is, limit explosive plays. That's what Steve Wilks wants to do. Limit explosive plays. Number two is turnovers. So you've got different things where you could do some blitz packages from certain formations or second and three or whatever. Okay, second and three, they don't play action or boot. Therefore, we know we don't have to maintain quarterback edge responsibility against this team when it's second and short in the right hash. They got an immobile quarterback. They never boot them to the left. That's a tendency breaker. You get that from your coaching staff and all your quality assistants, and you can build off those things. But when can we run quarters? When can we run third? When can we run cover six? When's the best time to bring five, bring six, bring seven? Do we need any zero pressures this week? No, we don't. Okay, cool. When they motion him across, he's running these routes. That's what the defensive script will look like. And again, sticking with Steve Wilks, one of my favorite things about Wilks, and I love Steve Wilks. Like, I hope you guys understand, he's my favorite defensive coordinator we've had in the past 7 years. And I do put him above Saleh. I do put him above D'Amico. I understand that we have a better defensive personnel now. But my favorite thing in a defensive coordinator is adjustments. First quarter, Steve Wilks goes out there, runs our basic stuff. Basic. We stick to what we do. We run our defense, and we're going to see how they attack it. Comes out at halftime, adjust, change everything up to make sure it works, and it does. We have given up the fewest points in the fourth quarter of any team in the NFL. I freaking love Steve Wilks, man. Let's jump to this now. I was going to talk about this later. The NFLPA did an anonymous survey, right? This is all the NFL players, where they have them vote on top 5 offensive coordinators, not coaches, top 5 defensive coordinators, not head coaches, and top 5 special teams coordinators, not coaches. Well, the 49ers don't really have an OC, so we don't get votes there. But Steve Wilks came in at number 2. Number 2 from the players across the NFL on who their favorite defensive coordinator is. Aaron Glenn was 1, Steve Wilks 2, Dan Quinn 3, 4, Brian Flores, 5, Raheem Morris. Now, this is a testament to how much the players like this dude. He's incredible. He's so solid. He's been around the NFL for a while. He treats people with respect. I freaking love Steve Wilks. This scared me a little bit because it does mean there's a possibility that he would leave. Now, I do not think that he leaves this year. I do believe the 49ers will keep Steve Wilks for at least another year. I hope we keep him forever. I really do. I understand that if he gets hired, he is a minority. The 49ers would receive 2 third-round comp picks. I don't want him. I want Steve Wilks. I want this dude to stay. He's running a new system for the first time. He's never coached in this type of scheme, and it's already working wonders. I mean, I freaking love Steve Wilks, man. I'm pretty excited just about all the things that he has brought to this team, and I don't know, man. I freaking love it. I really, really do. Right here, Big Papa says, who cares about comp picks? We need to keep this man. I think we keep Wilks for a while. I don't think you can keep him forever. If he wants to be a head coach again, he will probably have that opportunity with what he's doing. The adjustments, man, that's second to none, right? Again, one of my favorite things about offensive coordinators, I said it earlier, plays that build off each other, that counter off of each other. So if you stop my bread and butter outside zone, that's great. Stop outside zone. Well, we're going to hit you with the toss cutback. So you're over pursuing and you cut off outside zone. We're going to make a play that looks exactly like outside zone. We're going to outside toss to Debo, but he's going to plant and hit that backside A gap or B gap. Well, guess what? You just over pursued. It builds off each other. That's my favorite thing with offensive coordinators. Favorite thing with defensive coordinators, adjustments. Through the first half of the play, you get 30 plays or so, and you get to see what the offense is trying to do and take advantage of. You come in and out of halftime. You make your adjustments on the board with your personnel, with your coaches. You come back out. Hey, you want to know if a good defensive coordinator, you look at points and yards per game, first half versus second half. That'll tell you all you need to know. A lot of it's Jimmy and Joe's, right? And the saying is, do you win with X's and O's or Jimmy and Joe's? It's both. But you can't determine your Jimmy and Joe's anymore. You got your guys out there. So you show me who shuts them down in the second half. That's X's and O's. You know what I'm saying? And Steve Wilks is better at that than anybody in the NFL currently. And so I love that, man. And yeah, Bobo right here. I bet Carolina regrets not hiring Steve Wilks as their head coach. Yeah, I've never been a Frank Reich fan. I don't think that his play calling or leadership is good. I watched the trade and all the stuff with him and Carson Wentz, who were playing this week. And like you just see him interact and talk to the press and all those things. And I'm just like, dude, this dude's not a head coach. Amazing play caller, amazing quarterbacks coach. Great, great, great. I would not want that dude to be a leader of anything that I've been around personally. And then you look at Carolina and yeah, leadership problem. Look at their owner throwing water on fans, dumb trades. It's what happens when you have leadership that doesn't know what they're doing. And the 49ers have experienced that. Shout out to the current 49ers ownership and getting the hell out of the way. Find guys that will do it and just leave them the hell alone. That's the way to do it. Ed says, D'Amico is my favorite, but now it's Wilks after watching it. I freaking love it. JP, what's up, man? Appreciate you, brother.
The 49ers Rush Podcast.